Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. I am Ashfaq and in today's video we will create a complete DevOps CI/CD project using Jenkins, Ansible, Docker Hub and the Kubernetes. This is the complete flow diagram of our today's project, and our project has been divided in two parts. One is CI job and other is CD job. In this diagram, on the left side of the dash line we have CI job, and on the right side of the line we have the CD job. In the CI job, any change, any commit on the GitHub repository will trigger the CI job, which will pull the code from the GitHub repo, and Jenkins will trigger the playbook on the Ansible, and this playbook will actually build the Docker image. It will tag the Docker image and it will push that Docker image to the Docker Hub. Here our CI job will end, and once our CI job has been completed, CD job will be automatically triggered. And in the CD job, again it will run the Ansible playbook, and it will pull the image from the Docker Hub, and using that image it will deploy the pods on the Kubernetes cluster. So let's start building our project. First task is to create the virtual machine for the Jenkins. I will go to Azure portal, and I will go to resource group, create resource group. I will give the name mylab-rg. Region I will select West India. Next, next, create. I will go to home and I will click on create a resource. Virtual machine. I will select my resource group which we have just created. I will give the name to the virtual machine. Jenkins-server. Region I will select Central India. Image I will select Ubuntu 22.04. Size I will select D2S V3, and authentication type I will select SSH public key. SSH public key I will select generate new public key. I will give the name mylab-key. Inbound port I will allow 22. Next, next. VNet I will give create new, and the name I will give mylab-vnet. Subnet I will keep default. It will create the public key, public IP also. I will tick here. Next, 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 create. I will download my key. Virtual machine created. I will go to resource. I will copy the public IP of the virtual machine and I will open the MobiXterm. Session SSH. I will provide the public IP of the virtual machine. Azure user advanced use private key. Okay. Okay, so first of all, I will do the apt update. I will install the JDK. Yes. With this command, I will find out where the apt has installed the Java on the Ubuntu. So this is the path for the Java installation. I will now open the environment file. And below this, I will add the location of the Java so that every user on this machine would be able to access the Java. So this is the path for the Java. I will save this file. I will give the command source slash etc slash environment. This command will force the Ubuntu terminal to reload the environment configuration file. And now if I give the command echo $java home, so it is showing the path of the Java. Now I need to install the Jenkins on this server. So I will go to Jenkins installation page, official page, and under the Ubuntu I will copy this weekly release and I will paste it here. Yes, this command will enable the Jenkins service to start at the boot. I will start the Jenkins service, and if I give the command now, systemctl status Jenkins, so Jenkins is running in my system. I will go to my browser, Azure portal. On the virtual machine, I will go to networking, add inbound port rule, and destination port I will give 8080, add, because Jenkins works on the port 8080. Now I will copy the public IP of the virtual machine and I will open the Jenkins page with this IP. Okay, so I will open this path. I will provide it here. Install suggested plugins. I will provide the username. I will set the password. Save and continue. Save and finish. So the Jenkins is ready here. Next task is to create the new virtual machine and install the Ansible in it. I will go to Azure portal, create a resource, virtual machine. I will select my resource group. I will give the name to the virtual machine, Ansible server. Region I will select Central India. Image I will select Ubuntu 22.04. Size I will select E2S v3. Authentication type I will select password, and username I will give Azure user. I will set the password. Allow ports 22. Next. Next. I will select my virtual network. It will create the public IP. I will tick here. Next. 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 next, next. Create. Okay, virtual machine created. I will go to networking of the virtual machine, add inbound rule 80802 8090, add. I will copy the public IP address of the virtual machine and I will access it over the terminal. Now I need to create one user inside this server. So I will give the command this would be the name of our new user, Ansible admin. I will set the password. Okay, user created. Now I have to give the sudo rights to this user. So I will give the command we are actually adding the Ansible admin user to the group sudo. I will have to now reboot my system. Server reboot completed. I will close this window. I will copy the public IP again, and this time I will access it through the newly created user, which is Ansible admin. Okay, so I have to now create the generate the SSH key for this server for this username. I will give the command ssh-keygen. Okay, so key has been generated and key is at so this is the public key, and actually we want to use the passwordless authentication. That's why we are generating the public key. Finally, I will go ahead and install the Ansible in this server. I will give the command sudo apt update. I will give the command to install the Ansible now. So Ansible has been installed in our system. We have set up the Jenkins server and we have set up the Ansible server. Now it's time to integrate the Ansible server with the Jenkins. I will go to Jenkins dashboard, and first of all I will add one plugin. I will go to manage Jenkins, plugins, available plugins. I will search here SSH, and we need to add this plugin, publish over SSH. I will select this and I will click on install. So it is installing the dependencies. Okay, installation completed. I will go to home page. I will go to manage Jenkins, and under the system configuration I will click on system, and at the end I will go to publish over SSH, and under the SSH servers I will click on add. I will give here the name Ansible -server. I will copy the public IP address of the Ansible server and I will provide it here. Username I will provide Ansible admin. I will click on advanced and I will tick here use password authentication. I will provide the password for the Ansible admin. Apply. I will click here test configuration. So it's success. I will click on save. Now we will go ahead and install the Docker on the Ansible server. On the Ansible server terminal, I will first go to /opt directory and I will create here one directory, Docker. If I give the ll, so you can see root is the owner of this directory. I will have to make the Ansible admin as the owner for this directory. I will give this command, and if I give the ll now, so Ansible admin is the owner for this directory. I will now go ahead and install the Docker in this system. So now Docker is available in my system. I will have to now give the all the rights to the Ansible admin on the Docker. So I will give the command. So we are actually adding the Ansible admin to this group Docker. If I give the command now id Ansible admin, so now the Ansible admin is the member of Docker group also. I will have to now reboot my system. Next task is to create the Ansible playbook to create the Docker image and push that Docker image to the Docker Hub. So on the Ansible server, I will check the private IP of this server. So this is the private IP address of this virtual machine. I will copy this private IP and I will go to directory etc/ansible, and here we have one file host. I will open this file. I will create here one group called Ansible and I will provide the local IP address here. I will now give the command adding the self SSH key so that Ansible playbook can connect to localhost, because we will be creating the Docker image on the Ansible host itself. I will go to opt/docker directory and here I will create the one new playbook with the name cafeapp.yml, and inside this playbook I will give the steps. So host group, it will use Ansible which we have just added, and the first task will actually clone the repository. and it will clone the repository from the GitHub. This is my GitHub repository which it will clone. And the second task will actually create the Docker image. This would be the name of our Docker image. And once the Docker image has been created, it will change the directory again back to /opt/docker. I will first give the command to check the playbook. With this command, we can check the playbook whether it is going to execute successfully or not. Okay, so check successful. I will now run this playbook called cafe-app.yml, which we have just created. Okay, so execution of this playbook completed. If I give the command docker images, so this is the image which has been created just now using this playbook. Now I will log into my Docker Hub from here with the command docker login. I will give my username. So I have successfully logged into my Docker Hub from the terminal. I will again open the Ansible playbook. cafe-app.yml, and inside this playbook we will add two more tasks. I will correct the indentation. Okay, so this task will tag the local image according Docker Hub. This is my Docker Hub username. It will tag the local image to the name according to Docker Hub, and this command will actually push that tagged image to the Docker Hub. I will save this file. I will again check this playbook with this command. Okay, so check is okay. Now I will run this playbook, Ansible playbook, and verify that it is pushing the image to the Docker Hub or not. If I go to my Docker Hub, so there is no cafe app image present on my Docker Hub. From the terminal, I will run this playbook. So Ansible playbook executed successfully. If I go to Docker Hub and do the refresh here, so you can see Cafe app images available here, which has been pushed a few seconds ago. Now we have to create the Jenkins job to run the Ansible playbook, which we have just created. So on the Jenkins dashboard, I will click on new item. I will give the name CI job cafe app. I will select freestyle project. OK. Git. I will give my Git repository here. Branches main. I will not select any trigger as of now. And under the post build action, I will click here on add post build action, and I will select this option, send build artifact over SSH. So SSH server would be our Ansible server, and here under the exec command, I will give the command to run the Ansible playbook. So this would be the command, Ansible playbook hyphen, and this is the path of our Ansible playbook. /opt/docker, and playbook name is cafe-app.yml. Apply, save. I will now go ahead and click on build now. So job is completed. If I go to Ansible server and give the command docker images, so the image has been just now created and it has been tagged also 38 seconds ago. If I go to Docker Hub and do the refresh here, so the image has been pushed here just now. Next step is to set up the Kubernetes cluster. Before that, I will create one virtual machine from where we will operate our Kubernetes cluster. So I will go ahead and create the virtual machine. I will give the name region. I will select my region. Image Ubuntu server 22.04. Password username Azure user. I will set the password for the user. Next. Next, it will create the public IP. I will tick here. Next. 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 And create. Virtual machine created. I will copy the public IP and I will access it from the terminal. I will go to root. Now I need to install the Azure CLI in this system. You can go to this URL and refer the installation for the Azure CLI installation on the Linux. I will copy the command and I will install the Azure CLI on my system. If I give the command az-fn version, so Azure CLI has been installed in my system. I will now go to Azure portal and I will go to Kubernetes services, create a Kubernetes cluster. I will select my resource group. I will give the name mylab-cluster. I will select my region. Pricing tier, I will select free and scale method, I will select manual to save the cost and node count I will select 2. Next, next, next. Network configuration, I will keep kubenet. Next, I will not select anything here. Next, 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 and create. Kubernetes cluster created. I will go to Kube server and I will log in to the Azure portal from this Kube server. I will give the command az login. I will copy this URL and I will open it in the new tab on the browser. I will give the code. Next, I will select my username on the Azure portal. Continue. I will close this window and I'm successfully logged in from my terminal to the Azure portal. Now I will install the Kubernetes CLI. I will give the command az aks install -cli. Now it's time to connect to our Kubernetes cluster from our terminal. So I will go to Azure portal and on my Kubernetes cluster I will go to connect and I will copy this command and I will paste it on the terminal. If I give the command kubectl get nodes, so these are the two nodes in my Kubernetes cluster. So here we have successfully set up our Kubernetes cluster and we have successfully connected to our Kubernetes cluster through the Azure CLI. We have created the Kubernetes cluster and we have connected to our Kubernetes cluster successfully. Now it's a time to create the deployment and service manifest file for our Kubernetes cluster. So first we will create the deployment file. You can go to this URL and refer the instructions on how to create the deployment file. I will go to terminal on my Kube server. I'm inside the root directory also /root. I will go ahead and create the deployment manifest file here. This would be the name of our deployment manifest file, cafe app-deployment.yml. I will give the steps inside the deployment manifest file. So kind is deployment and this would be the name of our deployment, mylab-cafe app, and label is cafe app. We will recall this label under the service manifest file also under the selector, and using this label only service manifest file will create the service for this deployment. Replicas we will create two, and the container name would be cafe app, and it will use this image. This is my app, this is my username on the Docker Hub, and this is the image name on the Docker Hub. So it is going to pull this image from the Docker Hub, and the container port is 80. I will save this file. So we have created the deployment manifest file. Now we will go ahead and create the service manifest file also. You can go to this URL and refer the instructions on how to create the service manifest file for your Kubernetes cluster. So here I will create new file, and this would be the name of our service manifest file, cafe-app-service.yml. And inside this manifest file I will give the steps. Kind is service, and this would be the name of our service, mylab-service, and the label is cafe app, and the selector. Here we will give the label of the deployment, which is the cafe app, and target port is 80, which is the port of the container, and the service port is 80. I will save this file. So we have successfully created the deployment and the service manifest file for our Kubernetes cluster. Next task is to integrate our kube server with the Ansible server. So on the kube server, this is the private IP address of my kube server. I will copy this and I will go to Ansible server, and here I will open the host file of the Ansible, and here I will create one more group here called Kubernetes, and I will paste here the private IP address of the kube server. Both are in the same subnet and same VNet, so I am giving the private IP address. If both are on the different VNet, then you will have to give the public IP address. I will now go to kube server, and I need to enable here the password based login for the root user. So I will open the file here, sshd_config, which is inside the etc/ssh. And here I will make the password authentication as yes, and for the password based authentication of the root user, I will enter this line here: permit login, permit root login, yes. I will now go ahead and set the password for the root user. Okay, so we have enabled the password based authentication for the root user on the Cube server. I will now go back to Ansible server, and from the Ansible server I will copy the SSH key of the Ansible admin user of the Ansible server to the root user of the Cube server so that Playbook can interact with the Kubernetes. As we have connected the Kubernetes via root user of the Cube server. So I'm on the Ansible server, and here I will give the command ssh copy id root at the rate. This is the private IP address of the Cube server. I will provide the password for the root of the Cube server. It has been added. I will verify by giving this command. So you can see from the Ansible server I am connected to the Cube server over the root user because I have copied the key. So now I'm again back to our Ansible admin username of the Ansible server. For the connectivity between Jenkins and the Ansible server, we have used user Ansible admin, and the for connectivity between Ansible server and Cube server, we have used the user root of the Cube server because we have connected to our Kubernetes cluster from the Cube server via the username root. In one of our previous step, we had created the manifest file for the service and the deployment, and here those manifest file are present. Now we need to create the Ansible playbook to run these two manifest file. So I will go to my Ansible server, and I'm inside the /opt/docker, and here I have one Ansible playbook which is for creating the Docker image and pushing that Docker image to the Docker Hub. For the better understanding, I will rename this playbook create image cafe app. Now I will create one more Ansible playbook with the name Kubernetes deploy, which will basically deploy the resources on the Kubernetes cluster. And inside this inside this playbook, I will give the steps. So host group, it will use Kubernetes, and the username, it will use root to run this command on the kube server, which we have defined under the Kubernetes group of the host file. And the first task will actually create the deployment, and the second task will actually create the service, and the third task is to roll out the deployment if there is a change on the image on the Docker Hub. I will save this file, and if I go to kube server and give here the command kubectl get all, so you can see here no pod is running, and this is the default service, so no custom service is running. I will now go to Ansible server, and I will run the Ansible playbook which we have just created, kubernetes deploy dot yml. Okay, so playbook execution completed. If I go to kube server and again give the command kubectl get all, so now you can see mm, my pods are running, and these are the two pods which are running, and this is the service custom service, and this is the deployment, and these are the two nodes. I will copy the external IP address of the service, and I will browse it on the new tab, and here my application is running successfully. This is the time to create the Jenkins job to deploy the resources on the Kubernetes. So I will go to the Jenkins dashboard, new item, cd job cafe app, freestyle project, okay, and here under the post build action I will select send build artifact over SSH. So SSH server is our Ansible server, and under the exec commands I will give the command which will actually execute our Ansible playbook, which is going to deploy the resources on the Kubernetes. This is that Ansible playbook. Apply, save. I will now go to my CI job, configure, and under the post build action Here I need to change the name of the Ansible playbook, as we had renamed this Ansible playbook. So I will give the correct name here, and under the post build action I will again click on the add post build action, and because I need to add one more task, and I will select here build other project. Here it will give me the option to select the project, and I will select the CD job for our app. So once CI job is finished, it will automatically trigger the CD job. And now I will give the build trigger also. I will select poll SCM, and I will give here the schedule every minute, apply, save. Everything has been set up. Now it's time to verify our CI/CD pipeline by making the change on the GitHub repository. So I have opened the CI job and CD job on the separate tabs, and this is my GitHub repository, and total commit count is 5 on this, and I'm connected to my GitHub repository from my local system or the Git. So I will make some changes in the index.html file, and here iced Americano, I will change its price from 11.25 to 16.50. I will save this file, and I will push it to the remote repository. If I go to GitHub repository and do the refresh here, so commit count is 6 and CI job has been triggered automatically. CI job completed. If I go to CD job, it has been triggered automatically upon the completion of CI job. CD job also completed. If I go to Ansible server and give her the command docker images. So the image has been created just now, and on the kube server if I give the command kubectl get all, so pods are running and service is also running. If I go to Docker Hub and do the refresh here, so image has been pushed just now, and if I go to my application it is showing the older value. If I do the refresh it should change, so you can see it has changed. We will test once again. I will go to my repository. I will again open the index.html file, and this time I will change the price of the iced americano to $20.50. I will save this file. I will push the changes to remote repository. And if I go to CI job of the Jenkins, it has triggered automatically. CI job completed. If I go to CD job, it has triggered automatically upon the completion of CI job. So CD job also completed successfully. If I go to my application, so as of now it is showing the older value. If I do the refresh it should change. So you can see here changes has been applied to the application. By this way you can set up complete automated CI/CD pipeline using Jenkins, Ansible, Docker Hub and the Kubernetes. Any change on the GitHub repository will trigger the pipeline, and the changes would be applied on the application once the CD job is finished. You can fork my repository, create your own branch and practice this complete project. If you face any difficulty during practicing this project, you can ask me in the comment section. I will definitely help you out. If you have any doubt on the any step of this project, you can ask me in the comment section. I will definitely reply to your query. Connect to me on the LinkedIn. I am active on the LinkedIn also. If you find this project helpful, then like the video. A lot of effort went behind this video, so do subscribe to my channel to encourage my work. Share this video with the friends and spread the knowledge. I look forward you to join me in the next video. Thank you.